How's it going, ladies and genitals? Well, interesting stuff happens. We have this thing here.
The Code Rangers.
The Code Rangers. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Town Fathers in Fayetteville have put out a comic book. Actually, it's kind of an activity book. So it's geared toward kids. And, oh boy, this is interesting, and I really wanted to talk about it. The purpose of our activity book is to teach children and their parents about code compliance. The city of Fayetteville is committed to the overall safety and welfare of its citizens. Yeah.
Yeah, which so far, so good. I mean, safety's not a bad thing, especially for kids, but it's the way they go about this is most interesting. Let's divulge a little bit into the characters we have in this fun-filled activity book.
Let's divulge, shall we? Okay, it's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's kind of funny that the Fayetteville city government chose to pump I don't know how many dollars into the printing of this comic book, but the big thing about it is it's we're on the case. Help me and the Code Rangers solve puzzles and find Fayetteville's Dirty Dozen. Okay, so we've got Fayetteville's Dirty Dozen here, and
no Lee Marvin in sight.
No Lee Marvin in sight. Charles Bronson, Donald Sutherland, Telly Savalas. Oh, tough beans, folks.
Yeah, they get our hopes up.
But we're going to have fun with this. This is being distributed. Excuse me, and it looks like it's being geared pretty much to children, and so I want to have some fun with it. Vinny the Violet. Well, okay.
Yeah, Vinny the Violator, I mean, is basically your stereotypical Italian Goomba.
Yeah.
You know, the completes, you know, in
great racial stereotype.
We'll insert like a shot of this later so you can get the full-on effect of Vinny. You know, gold chain, cheesy mustache, and you know, it's you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg of just like how offensive this is as far as just like stereotyping, as if, you know.
We're gonna have fun with this.
Oh yeah. But if there's a violation, Vinny's got it. So,
and if there's a violation, Vinny's got it. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, and basically Vinny's front yard is very trashy and just, you know, you know, all of us have seen front yards in this area where, you know, somebody's got like an old fridge or something, which I guess breaks code. I mean, you know, hell though, as long as there's not a dead body in it. I mean,
well, basically, unless you're an ultra clean yuppie, you don't belong in Fayetteville. That's the message being sent.
Yeah. Okay.
Trashy Tina, who was throwing her trash everywhere.
Yeah.
Trashy Tina.
And of course, is dressed kind of like a mid 1970s groupie.
Yeah.
You know, she's probably you know, biblically known members of Black Oak, Arkansas. You know.
And Flat Tire Frankie, again, this guy with a wife beater and a buzz cut, and
yeah,
so on and so forth. And he's Frankie likes to collect old cars that will not run and old tires that are no good. His front lawn looks like a salvage yard. Heaven forbid somebody's into cars.
Yeah,
you know, just likes to repair them or fix them or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what bothers me most is the idea that that there should be some kind of law or regulation accusing anyone, you know, just condemning anyone for their lifestyle or for the fact that they like to do. Oh, Polly Plumbing. Polly's yard is overflowing with water. It has not rained all month, but Polly is wearing her rain boots. And
is this really a problem? I mean, some of these violations, yeah, I've seen and probably have even been privy to. But plumbing, like overflowing water in your yard? I don't know. This seems weird.
Junkyard Johnny. Johnny loves to collect everything. His front yard has become the talk of the town, not for its beauty, but for its junk. And of course, the city of Fayetteville is all about beauty, and if you don't conform to that, well, you're a pariah. Don't let things get too junky. Always make sure to and clean up your junk.
Which honestly, this is basically another.
Some folks are just messy.
And this is just a repetition of character. This is basically like Vinny.
Yeah.
But you know, not as Guido looking. So.
Bertha Brush Pile. Bertha has the city's biggest brush pile in her backyard. She doesn't understand why her neighbors keep complaining about her mountain of sticks.
You know, as if having a mountain of Dynasty Young was a bad thing in your backyard. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, not that kind of stick. Sorry. Yeah. Which, you know, honestly, though, the city, if this is anything like Springdale, like, there's only certain times of the year that the city will pick up your brush pile. I mean, you have to tie it up, which is understandable. So it's like, what is she supposed to do? I mean, you know, you have to wait till we'll pick it up. Okay, number 7.
This is one of my favorites. Rundown Randy. Is this house vacant? Yes, it's owned by Rundown Randy.
So basically, this guy can't afford to fix up his house, so he must be like punished for not being, I guess, lucky enough to have like a really good paying job, or you know.
And it's like, and I love this little activity here. Good house, bad house. Tell the differences between the good house and the bad house. So if you can't afford, if you're, say, living down on the South End and you can't afford to if you can't afford to fix or renovate your bad house, well, you're bad. You're a bad person.
Yeah, it's a.
And
we're slowly.
I'll rant about my classism later here.
And here we go. Probably one of the arguably most offensive characters in the book.
I love this one. And hello, anyone out there involved with the Omni Center? If this one, you ought to talk to the Fayetteville City government, your friends Mayor Cootie and whoever about this. I'm dying to show you this. All right. Willie Weeds. Willie refuses to mow his grass and weeds. He thinks his weeds are an endangered species, but his neighbors think it's an excuse for him not to take care of his yard. Check this out. I love this. Okay, stereotypical hippie character.
Complete with peace sign.
Yeah, complete with peace sign. So kind of denigrating the peace movement and kind of hippies and progressives and whoever else. Omni Center, hello? Are you paying attention?
Like half of Fayetteville. Like,
do the folks in the Omni Center who are such good friends with our mayor, do they support this? Do they support this kind of stereotyping? I'd like to hear their reactions to this. I think I'll send them a copy of this show.
Yeah, it's just, you know, half of Fayetteville, arguably, is hippies. You know, when I was in high school, I mean, that was actually one of the cool things. That was, you know, because I'm from Springdale, it's like Fayetteville, you know, Fayetteville's cool. It's got people, you know, that it's like it got a counterculture of sorts. And, you know, I mean, just the stereotype, endangered species, as if just kind of turning its nose up to anybody that, like, cares about the environment. I mean, you know, it's just in the whole weeds thing, like, oh, okay, we get it, it's a pot reference. He's a hippie, right? He's a dirty, stinking hippie, you know.
Yeah.
God forbid he didn't become a Stepford human being, you know, and clone himself.
Omni Center.
Yeah. But, on to case number 9.
Curbside Carla. Carla has items all over her front yard. She called the city to pick them up, but she didn't put them curbside.
Which is, again, repetitious.
Well, who the hell cares if you have items on all over your front yard? I mean,
it's your fucking yard.
Yeah. A lot of the kind of... A lot of people have generally pegged me as being, you know, this ultra-leftist and whatever not, and generally they're right, but where I fall into an issue here is the fact that, I mean, you know, what you do with your property is your own business. And, you know, I guess I don't know the ins and outs of the property rights issues, but it seems to me that if you don't want to take care of your yard, well, that's your business.
I mean, as long as it's not a literal health hazard to anyone. I mean, yeah, I mean, or just something absurd, like, yeah, you might want to put your dildo sculpture inside the house, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, somebody having, like, you know, an old car or whatever, or they haven't mowed their lawn in 2 weeks, you know. Ooh, you know.
Heaven forbid. Wanda will mow. Wanda always has an excuse for not mowing her yard. Her grass is so high that she can no longer find her lawnmower.
And Wanda's an old lady here, so it's, you know, yeah, it's her fault for being arthritic, maybe? I don't know.
So here's this whole thing about, you know, Wanda can never find her lawnmower. Your lawn should never be higher than your knees. Well, who the hell cares?
Yeah. Well, and it's, like, half of these things, I think they, like, stretched out to make it a dozen, to make it catchy, because, like, there's, like, we've had at least 3 or 4 characters who, okay, they leave crap in their yard, yeah, and, like, 2 at least about the lawn mowing thing. I mean, it's, you know, it's repetitive, but anyways.
Pole Sign Pete. You never know where Pole Sign Pete will post his signs. Pole Sign Pete will have his signs all over the city in unapproved areas. Yeah, that turned into a real bitch for musicians who are trying to post their flyers down Dixon Street and around downtown, and it's kind of like, wow, there's a good symptom of how Fayetteville was a lot cooler than it now is. Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, let's not let folks promote anything.
Well, it's sort of interesting because it's like you compare, like...
And that was a nice thing.
Compare Fayetteville to, like, you go to a big city like New York or LA that has, like, both have really thriving, you know, music scenes. And there's, like, flyers everywhere you go, especially in New York, you know, all over the place, you know. Compare that, I mean, our music scene, Dixon has become, I mean, for every good band, there's probably, like, 2 or 3 cover bands and just, like, butt rock.
Yes,
you know,
butt rock city.
Butt rock is king. You know, we have personal friends that are musicians.
Watch the live venues die around
this town. We have personal friends that are musicians that are really good musicians. You know, and like it's harder for them to get gigs because they're basically not like covering Brown Sugar for the upteenth time. Mm. But anyways, the final in our number here, case number 12.
Okay, Stagnant Stanley. Stanley has stagnant puddles and pools of water all around his yard. Stagnant water can be a health risk and is home for mosquitoes, gnats, flies, and bacteria.
Which is basically a repetition of the lady who's plumbing, whatever her plumbing Paula, whatever her name was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Polly Plumbing. Sorry, but
let's look at all these characters here. There are a few things here I want you to notice, and it kind of falls into, in my opinion, the whole issue of Fayetteville and the TIF district and everything running around the south end and Fayetteville on the south side and whatnot. And it kind of brings me back, something I've talked about before on the show, is the south side of Fayetteville. And 2004, around the mayoral, around the 2004 elections, there was a big mayoral debate. You know, the mayoral candidates were debating different things, and one question asked of them was, what would you do for the south side? And Mayor Cootie, the incumbent who won the election, said that, well, we we got rid of these mobile homes and put in this nice set of apartments where those were. And then he kind of ruefully said, of course, when you do that, people call it gentrification. Well, goddamn right we call it gentrification. And what we see in this little comic book here is just outright classism. All these characters, pretty much all or most of them, are basically kind of these stereotypical views of low income and or working class people. And it's kind of funny looking at this, and just goes to show that our friends in the city of Fayetteville and what they want to promote is just out and out class warfare. It is just outright classism. I want you to think of that. Think of Hurricane Katrina and what happened down there in New Orleans. And basically all those people lost their homes and everything, and everyone was just like, oh, let them eat cake and let a bunch of people die and end up in horrific circumstances and whatnot. Funny part of that was that, okay, we have all this nonsense. Basically what you have going down there now is they're building like upscale homes where all the poor, kind of lower class, low income homes used to be. And so the low-income people who were driven out of there by the disaster won't be able to come back. And, they'll just kind of be shelling it to lower class, kind of upper class people and trying to bring in a quote-unquote better element. That's pretty much what's going on in Fayetteville right now. The only difference is we didn't need a hurricane. Basically, they're tearing down low-income housing, replacing with all these high-dollar condos and whatnot, and
that nobody's buying.
Yeah, that nobody's buying, but every year or so, the city council all get together and cry crocodile tears about how low-income housing isn't available in Fayetteville. Well, that's kind of like if I were to publish a magazine that cost me $2 to publish and then charge $100 for it, and then went to the press crying about how, well, I don't think people will be able to afford my magazine. Well, gee, no wonder. Anyway, I just wanted to show you all. I mean, people talk about racism in the Katrina incident. Well, racism, like certain holiday cards, is just a tiny little division of classism. And classism is rampant and running wild in Fayetteville, and the town fathers are all for it. I just wanted to show that to y'all. I know it's not pretty, I know it doesn't promote the town, I know it doesn't sell real estate. Kind of a funny thing, I want to kind of draw back, those of you who have been watching the show for any length of time might have noticed when we went live back in 2003, all the people who lined up to condemn our show, including folks in the city government, their lackeys and ass-kissers in the print media and whatnot, all pretty much said the same thing, more or less, was They're wanting to sell real estate to the young executives, and they apparently saw us as this big, dangerous detriment to that. It's kind of funny because when you look at it, I mean, gee, I work the graveyard shift in a local factory. I have no power whatsoever. I never dreamed I was that dangerous to the city of Fayetteville. Thanks, City of Fayetteville, for giving me that credit and giving me that power. I never knew I had it. Thanks, folks. So this is the kind of idiocy and prejudice and stupidity and just the outright bigotry and... Can you throw in a few more adjectives for me?
It's pretty vile. One thing I found especially is just, and actually a good friend of mine was offered this, the same activity book for his kids. He's got 3 little girls that are awesome. And he declined it because he didn't want to teach these values to his kids. And the value is, great job, thanks for helping us track down Fayetteville's dirty dozen. What code violations do you see in your neighborhood?
Knock on your neighbor, folks.
It's basically like teaching your kids to be little narcs and just, nitpicking people. I mean...
Little Nazis.
Yeah.
The Hitler Youth were a lot like that.
It's weird because it's, of all the things, that people could do in their community that is harmful, having your
not keeping up your yard is one of the least.
Be shaggy, that's nothing. I'm sorry, most of us who have lived in houses or duplexes or whatever where we've had to upkeep a lawn, you're going to have weeks where, you're working 40 hours plus a week. A lot of you guys have kids. Some of you have second jobs, You've got lives, Your lawn is usually pretty low on that list, If you can have a nice upkeep, that's great, It's, ideally, sure, maybe it's nice to have something that's all neat and pretty. But you know what? Life happens, and it's just, and if somebody likes fixing auto cars, I mean, who are we to say, well, that doesn't look good, I mean, who is anybody to say what looks good? I mean, if it's not an actual health hazard, which half of this stuff isn't. I mean, I think the only thing in there that might be a real hazard is is maybe the standing water because of West Nile. But even that's pretty, if you're that worried about that, then stay out of the woods. Pretty much stay indoors completely because, if it rains, you're going to have standing water. So it's just pretty absurd. It kind of upsets me that our tax money's going to this when, there's a lot of things that money should be going to. Raising your children to be little anal narcs about front lawn maintenance is not, it should not be one of them. And it's
just the back asswards mentality of the city standing behind something like this.
Yeah. I
mean, I as a taxpayer want to complain about that.
Well, and it's weird because to me the things that make this I mean, because Fayetteville is a great town in a lot of ways, and and we do have some, it's like anything else. We do have some people, in the government who are good people who are trying to do good for everyone in a community,
Oh yeah.
But the problem with this attitude, it's totally crapping on a good chunk, most of the community. Honestly, you take the percentage of people who have enough money to buy a condo, or enough money to have a really nice looking house and have it kept up real nicely, is fairly small. Arkansas, this region, despite the big business, is still in a lot of ways a working class area. Fayetteville's a little bit above that because of the university, but there's still a huge chunk of us that are working class, ourselves included. And, to stereotype people, in that is just, it's insulting. Just as if to say that yuppies, don't do anything wrong and they're perfect. Well, they can afford to have the appearance of perfection.
Oh, those young executives.
But appearance is a big word. Appearances are very deceiving, And, when you get under the layer, we're all human beings, and some are really great people, and some are snakes. So,
and there were a few snakes who put that little book out, I think, and a few of them are in city government, I think. But I'm gonna stop being so nasty and malicious. I don't know. Is there anything that we've left out at this point? There may have been.
Well, as far as that book, I think we're pretty well covered. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the classism.
We've ripped it to pieces.
I mean, we could do, classism. It's just, I don't know, if this makes it to air, anybody out there,
It will.
Just be aware of of this stuff, because it's, this is a great city and a great country in a lot of ways, but the things that hinder us and hurt us from evolving and being better people in a better area is shit like this. Don't, this attitude of just, we'll just shove the poor people aside. I mean, that's absolutely hideous. These are human beings, and these are people that support your asses,
I don't know, one statement I might make is how much cooler, I moved down here a little over 10 years ago, and all I can think of is how much cooler Dixon Street was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And folks from any economic strata were pretty much welcome there, and it doesn't really feel that way anymore.
Yeah, it's
it's classist.
It's classist and it's filled with stuff we don't need. Do we need one more bar?
Do we need one more sports bar?
Do we need one more sports bar in this town? No.
One more fern bar?
Yeah, it's great. That is the last thing this place needs. What about, there's so many great creative people in this town. Why not more cultural venues? And by culture, I mean real culture. I'm not just talking we'll have a traveling production of Cats. There's great local artists who are just not getting their stuff out as much as they could be, because it's not
about localism, and it's not about artists of all social strata. It's about the bourgeois.
Yeah.
The bourgeoisie.
Which is why we're really lucky to have Cats. So it's just, we do have a voice, at least in this town, and
got to get rid of that.
And more people need to utilize that. I mean, don't take it for granted. So a lot of people don't have that. And and there are other ways too. I mean, there are letters to the editor. It's just nobody should ever feel like they can't be heard. Especially if you're from a lower bracket, or if you're a minority, or whatever. If you don't fit in with the 2% of the population, it's ridiculous that all of us are held up to this standard that only a handful of people actually have. Mm-hmm. One's life should not be defined by material goods, anyways. I mean, they're nice, and certain things you need, but when you die, the day you die, do you think the thing you're going to be thinking of is your car, what kind of car you have, how good your lawn looks? I sure as hell hope not.
Anyway, a disturbing set of affairs. Thanks for your time.
All right, and keep hope alive.
Soft rock. Lame-ass, weak, non-threatening suburban white boy junk played by bands like Men Without Testicles. Testicles. Reach over here and fondle my balls. Reach over here. Reach over here. Reach over here and fondle my balls. Reach over here. Reach over here. Reach over here and fondle my balls. Meandering zombie noise. Busy in the basement, jacking off his dog. Busy in the basement, jacking off his dog. Pointless meandering zombie noise. Lunatic. Busy in the basement, off his dog. Lunatic. Pointless meandering zombie noise. Lunatic. Pointless meandering zombie noise. pointless, meandering zombie noise. Fuck these new age techno dicks. Whatever happened to music with testicles? Fondle my testicles. Fondle my balls. Testicles. Balls. Testicles. Balls. Music with testicles. Rather nämgels när jag blir knäst jag universingen där fnan ju sämel.